am I?
Hey folks, Matt Easton here, Scholar Gladiator, and I'm here with Todd, and we've got a real treat for you today, and that's to look at a range of medieval sword scabbards. Now this is something I've never really touched on my channel before, partly because I don't have any medieval sword scabbards, at least not authentic good ones that I'd be willing to share with you.
Stop.
Yeah.
We could put the rapier one up because that changes everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, okay, yeah, do it, yeah.
Let's grab that because I know
Todd's workshop, is that
Todd's
right?
workshop.
Yeah. I keep wanting to say Todd stuff and then...
Yeah, well, so do I. Times change, Matt.
Hey folks, Matt Easton here, Scholar Gladiator, and I'm here with Todd at Todd's workshop, linked below. And we've got a real treat for you today, and that is we're going to be looking at some medieval and slightly after medieval sword scabbards. Now this is something I haven't really covered on my channel in the past, mostly because I haven't had access to good reconstructions of medieval sword scabbards. So like we've got used Todd as a model, as a glamorous model. We're going to be putting the swords on and off him like a kind of action man thing. Yeah.
Right, so if we take this one, so this is all of these swords actually, bar the last one, are actually from Albion. So this is an Albion Arn. So it's dated, I think, around about 1200 or a little before. I can't quite remember, a bit before.
So we're looking kind of first crusade, second crusade.
Yeah.
Kind of period.
And so what you got here is sort of a strangely integrated strap system. There was no formulaic way of doing this. Basically something that looks basically kind of like this. It actually sits quite well because obviously the nightmare with the sword is that it just flops all over the place.
Or gets tangled between your legs while you're walking.
Exactly,
or
those things. And so that's what you don't want. It needs to be sort of like gunslinger low.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing is if you hold it very static, I'm going to lift it up now and hold it tight.
Yeah.
That's okay, but it's restrictive.
Well, and so something I've noticed is that particularly movies and TV are very guilty of this, is they get a scabbard and just attach it straight to a belt which is around someone's middle.
Velcro.
Yeah, and so Game of Thrones is particularly bad for this. You'll look, everyone's swords are sitting very, very high, like practically under their armpits. And the problem is, you've got to be able to get the sword out of the scabbard, and if it's mounted up really high, you can't move your hand high enough to get the... So it needs to be hung low enough that you can get it out. Just one detail I want to ask about on this scabbard. This is the Albion... can't remember the name of this one.
Yeoman? Sheriff?
One of those. Type 14, I think, isn't it? Yeah. But this raise, you see this in a lot of art. That presumably, I've always assumed, that's to keep moisture and dirt out of the scabbard.
It's called a rain flap.
Yeah.
So I would say one would assume it's that. However, I can't really see how it does particularly hold the rain out. It's almost a bit funnily.
Yeah.
Very often you'll see it with plaque belts. But really I don't know if it's particular to the effigies or if it's actually what people wore, but I mean there was so much showmanship in what was going on. So we have gone for the most unsubtle of unsubtle scabbards.
How the face is decorated and how the hands are decorated. That's what, it's the same thing that we're seeing here. Right, so this is from the later 14th, and into the 15th century, isn't it? So what comes next?
Well then, really this sort of setup here, it's actually on a regent, which is an Albion regent, which is the end of the 15th. Basically like a buckle that just goes onto the belt, but you can move its position, and it's got a ring on the bottom. Now what happens now...
So this is modular. You've essentially got a belt which looks like a normal belt, but it's got this special little attachment on it.
Special fitting, and that's kind of all it is.
Then a separate sword.
There is a hook that passes through the ring now. Now of course A, the sword is at my back, but B, a single point, it would just be flopping everywhere. It'd be a nightmare. So you now pull the sword around, and there's a little short belt here on the fitting, and the end of this passes through, and then another.
So yeah, that's been absolutely fascinating. Scabbards and the way that they're worn are not something that I've actually personally studied a lot, so you obviously have, because you've had to reconstruct them, and I think when you have to make something, you have to understand how it works. So it's great to get this insight, and I hope one day to have one of your lovely scabbards for one of my swords. So thank you very much, Todd.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Cheers.